here. So here we go. Fantastic. And just in case I'm going to turn on transcripts. Yeah. Ooh. What's I got to do? It's fine. All right. What are we doing today? We're doing studio. Cool. Let's do that. All right. Welcome everyone to model validation. Okay, we're in the right spot. We're recording, so this is going to be all on YouTube here later. But 13.6, let's go into the studio and get on started. Welcome to 13.6, the studio, SPA user validation. We'll build on the user sign up studio from last class, adding validation. So 13.6.1, getting started, and Kyle's going to make a timeout here. I say we have some friends. Anything in particular in this studio that you would like me to focus on as I'm going through it? Excuse me. Anything at all? Nothing?
I'm looking forward to see how you pass messages from the validation back to the HTML. Bonus missions.
Let's see that. There was one of these, and disclaimer, I might cut this out, dude. Probably not, I'm gonna be lazy. But I got absolutely stuck last time on one of these studios. I think this was the one, and that's why I was so scared in class. Like, I know there's something here that trips me up. And it's one thing, it's a quirk about the validation that there's a caveat in it that there's an error that I never got to the bottom of. I know it's gonna come up. It's like a nightmare, a demon in my coding soul. That's going to come in base. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go. Okay, 13.6.1, getting started. Open up your SPA Day application. Check out user sign up part 2 branch. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and find IntelliJ wherever you might be here. I can't find you. Where are you? Come on, there we go. I just closed you. Why did you need to start all the way up? Okay. There we go. All right, so we're going to open up SPA Day here. This is that SPA Day starter code. And what we are going to do is I'm going to bring this down here so you all can see it. Just going to go ahead and open it up, and we're going to have a second. Okay, so we are here. Awesome. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and check out the sign up part 2 branch. So user, I'm going to come down here on the GUI, click on it, and I'm going to now click on this user sign up part 2, single click and say check out. I'm going to use the IntelliJ get GUI because it just helps out. Oh, I thought I stopped this. Okay. For that, I just saw what we just saw here. Let me go back over to it just because it is important in the future when we're out in corporate. So I try to check out that branch, but I had changes, AKA from last studio review, that I have not committed yet. So what I'm going to do is not do any of these options, exit out of that immediately, and come up here and commit. So I'm going to do finish up first SPA studio. Now I'm going to finish up the second SPA studio, and then I'm going to press commit there. And commit. I don't care about code analysis right now. I don't care about that either. Code analysis is going to be checking for any warnings or errors in your code before you commit something to see if you're going to make somebody else get mad at you. That's also on your code branches. And the to-do analysis to see if you left any to-dos in your code. If you do a // then to-do in all caps, so IntelliJ will actually keep you a checklist of what you have to do in your code. It's kind of cool. All right, we have committed that code. So what we're going to do now is click here on user sign up part 2 and click checkout. Neato. So this is what we have to do, and this Zoom thing is so annoying. It's like a little bar right there the whole time you're sharing your screen. Okay, we have checked out the code. We are done with 13.6.1. Let's move on. 13.6.2, add validation annotations. Navigate to the user model class, add validation annotations. I'm going to open this up real quick, by the way, in a separate tab if we need it later. To ensure these conditions are satisfied, we have to do these 5 things. So let's go ahead and do that. Username, password, and verify all require that they cannot be empty. Let's do that right now. So go ahead and close out of that. Open up project by single clicking project on the left-hand side. Find models, find user, double click, and we are here. All right, what I'm going to do is going to put an annotation here, not blank. I'm going to press enter, and we have immediately imported it there. We know that if we come down here to our build Gradle, Kyle forgot this today, but this was the implementation that's letting us all do that. Now he can see it because he made that mistake. Wisdom is the best medicine. All right. We're going to say not null for all of the, oh, sorry, not blank. I'm going to be lazy here and just do that. And do that. There we go. All not blank. Fantastic. Let's keep on going here. Username is between 5 and 15 characters. Now for that one, what we're going to be doing most likely on the validation is that we want to do size, right? Yeah. Is it over here? No, this is all class. I don't want that. All right. Wow, they did not give us good documentation for this. No, we don't want this. Java X validation annotations. I don't like that. I really don't like the Java documentation. It just looks scary, to be honest. There, that's what I want to see. Where's my size at? All right, let's go and open that new tab. I believe it's going to be size here between specific boundaries. And I'm looking for their parameters. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Min, max, message. That's what I want to see. So I'm going to set a min and a max. And I already forgot what I was even going to be doing. Username, 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 username. There we go. So we're going to say at size. And our min is going to be 5 characters. And our max is going to be 15 characters. And I don't believe it said I want us to add a message right now, so we're not going to. All right. Email is optional. All right, so if it's optional, then I don't believe we need to add another constraint, but let's make sure. I probably am wrong. It can be null. I think this is a trick question because if it's optional, you don't really need to do much. I mean, it has to be, if it, in that case, wait, in that timeout. All right, we're gonna do another timeout here. What is this? Username, okay. So email is optional. So what am I doing? I don't even need to do that. Just take that off there. And where's verify at? Do we even have a verify?
I think they mean these two things confirm they are required. Verify they are required, that it's not a field, but that we're supposed to.
Thank you. Yep, I'm reading too fast. I read that as the password verify, as in your secondary password, and verify that they're required. Okay, so username and password are required. They can't be empty. So also, instead of just not blank, also, I'm just gonna put not null. See, it's that wording there. Gets me every time. So if it can't be null and it can't be blank. Email is optional. So that was a tricky, or not tricky, it was a trick one, meaning that you just don't have to put any annotations on it because it's optional. So it doesn't really matter. Number 4, if provided, the email has a format of a valid email address. In that case, what we're going to do is that we can just say email for that. I don't think it takes in any parameters for email. Let me go and double check the constraints on that one. So that should just, I'm missing some things. Why am I missing email? Do I have the up-to-date documentation? Cheating. Where are you at? There you are. So what I did is I went to the email. What you can do is hold down your control key if you're on Windows, command key if you're on Mac, and you can go into their actual code. And because you know who's writing that documentation? Coders that don't care enough. So come into their code. This is where they actually care. You can actually see what's going on. So I want to go into email and see if there's even an, let me make sure there's not an optional. Okay, there's no optional. So what do we got here? I think we're fine on that. Let me see this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep that open too, just so I can use that later. All right, so we can do that on email. What else we gotta do? Password is at least 6 characters long. So what I'm gonna do is actually gonna do a minimum of 6 for that. I can do that. There you go. And a minimum of 6 characters on that password. All right. Cool. Any questions up until that point? Okay.
Why did
Let's
you
keep
choose at minimum instead of at size?
We can do size, but minimum, I mean, it didn't say we needed before and after. So it says at least 6 characters long. So hypothetically, I believe I remember something where min is only for numbers, but I want to try to go against those odds. I'm gambling here, or gamble. We'll see something in error. If it goes wrong, we'll change it to size. We'll just take out the max parameter. That's fine too. But I'm going to see if this min works. Yes. Am I using you all as guinea pigs? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. More you learn. I like to get into trouble because you learn your lesson a lot faster. Okay. On to 13.6.3, use the model to render the form. In the user controller, modify the add method that displays the form so it passes in an empty user object. Yes, we absolutely do have to do that because I'm assuming they're going to be using fields in this one. Modify the add method. Okay. In the user controller, in the add get mapping, I believe is what they're referring to. Let me do that. In that case, if we're calling to model, we need to add model down here. Let me make sure I did that right. And that displays the form. Displays the form is what gave me that get mapping indicator. You're displaying the form, then you are most likely doing a get mapping at that point. So pass the user object with that. Perfect. This object will be accessible in the template by name as user. Okay, cool. Now that we're passing an empty user object, you may notice some redundant code in your process. Add user form controller, remove the model attribute additions, and update the user add template to make use of the model field. Oh, okay, sure. What are we doing here? Okay, that. Technically, we don't even need that. Yeah, we don't need this. Well, we do need verify, but we don't need this. Because verify is not part of the user object. That's why we're keeping that in there. Technically, though, we don't need this because it's going to be baked in to our template. Remember that? That fun magic behind the scenes? And we don't have any redirects here, so we're A-okay to do that. All right. So now that that's the case, let's go ahead and just fix this index and add real quick. Index, that's fine. Okay, and then add. Yeah. And we're going to have to add user.username here, user.email. Password's fine because we don't want to redo that. Okay, cool. Any questions about what I just did? I'm going to go back to it real quick. What's happening is that user is being passed into this template, the user index and user add. So I went to index and I looked for anything with user in it and I said user dot. This one didn't have to fix anything, but I did have to fix it in add.html. I said user.email and user.username. So now we're using the object that's being a part of the template. So that's what I did. Cool. Alrighty. Now that we did that, while you're in the add.html template, remove the type equals email designation from the email input. Okay. Easy enough. I'm wondering where they're going with this. The last video had you add the type to provide some client-side validation on the email field, but we shouldn't consider that sufficient. So what they're doing is removing the client or UI side validation. They want us to do it all on the back end or the server side. Cool. Now that we know how to use model validation to validate the email field, we'll favor this technique over the client-side validation. That's what I just said, instructions. Even with the client-side validation, that is in the browser, you should always validate the data on the server side as well. Exactly, trust nobody. Like one thing as your parent instructor, don't ever trust anybody. You might want, I'm just being chatty tonight. You might want to provide constraints in addition to or beyond what the browser does. It's also possible for a clever or more malicious user to bypass the browser's validation. For this studio, we'll remove the input type to make it easier to test the server-side validation. That was a bunch of nothing, but thank you for that. All right. 13.6.4, it did have some good stuff in there, but just nothing that we had to do. 13.6.4, validating form submission data. Now that you have your form set up, go back to the user controller and add validation on the form submission by adding the valid annotation to the user parameter that is bound, along with the additional parameter errors. Cool. I'm gonna go up to user controller up here. They're gonna be talking about this post mapping down here. That's where all the stuff is at. And what we're gonna do is add that at valid annotation right there. Next thing we're gonna do is also import it. And the thing after that we're gonna do is add errors. Errors goes at the end. So that's where we're gonna put it. Always, always, always at the end. There we go. Well, model is always, always, always first. All right. Perfect. So, errors. Okay. Remember when you put this parameter directly after a user parameter in the model definition for it to work properly? Yep, that's what we did. Cool. Within the process add user form handler, check for errors configured by validation annotations using error.hasErrors. If it returns true, return the user to the form. Wow, I feel like we just did this. Wait, didn't we? Oh, no, okay. I was like, isn't it doing that? It's not. Let's go ahead and do it. If, and who can tell me how to check to see if we have errors? Yeah, you got to talk to me a little bit here.
If errors.hasErrors.
Very good. Absolutely. And then we have to return them back to the form. So I forgot which one the form is. Is it add? Yeah, it's the user/add. Remember I'm saying user/add because add is inside the user directory there. That's why we say user/add to find that template correctly within our templates directory. So we return it there. If else, then we just do whatever we were doing before. So this check, if there's any errors, we go right back to that form and we bring the errors along with us. I'm going to pause here. Any questions up until this point?
Up above, we put errors at the end on line 22. The instructions that you read said they had to be immediately after the user parameter.
Believe it was telling no, wrong one. After, so the parameter after the model definition after. Ooh, let me go ahead and do that. Maybe that was my error from a long time ago. Oh, it could have been. It might have been because I didn't read instructions. Thank you for that. That probably did it. You know what? You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to go against what they said, and I'm going to get that error, and I'm going to see if that's like if that is truly the monster that's been haunting me for this lecture. All right, we're leaving it there. We know we're going to get a problem, so we'll be back to that problem in a bit. But I got a feedback that people want to see me more in the muck. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go in the muck. All right. Add valid within the process. Okay. I think we're good here. On to 13.6.4.1, validating that passwords match. As we mentioned above, we are not able to use Spring's validation machinery to validate that two password fields match. Given the setup that we have, checking the errors.hasErrors only will tell us if there's errors in the form data fields. Last studio, we added some validation checks to make sure the password fields match. Now that we have two validation sections, annotations, configured validations, okay. And when that checks the password fields match, make sure that they work in sync with each other to properly return the form if any of the validation conditions fails. What? All right. Last studio we had is okay. One for annotation, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. They're just asking us to append the conditionals together. That makes sense. All right. So what they're saying is that they want us to use this in tandem. So we have this error down here, this user/add. So they're saying like, okay, if the form has any errors or the passwords do not equal each other, then do this thing. I'm like, okay. Could have just said that. You wasted so much text. Or, so if we have errors or the passwords do not equal each other, or aka the password does not equal verify, then return user/add. But we also need to take what they were doing down here. What this does is that it returns that password back, saying the passwords don't match. So we have that error in there. The only thing is that's going to be weird now because what do they want us to do with that? I don't want to do an if and an if though. That's going to look ugly. How are we going to do that though? Because so what I'm thinking right now in my head is that, okay, we have this thing down here. All right, we have this add attribute dot, the error says passwords do not match. That's fine and dandy. But if we put this just up here in the if statement, oh, I already did that. If we put this up here in the if statement, okay, passwords do not match. Technically, if the passwords don't match, that's correct. But what if my passwords did match and my username was 4 characters instead of 6? Well, technically this error would still show because it's in the same if statement. So my conundrum is, okay, I can only use this error right here, this one that's highlighted, if the passwords don't match. So what I would do if they really wanted to work in sync is that I'd have to do another if statement like that, but I don't, that's really like, this is bad practice.
Aren't they working in sync anyway? Because basically you want to check for any errors that are problematic to kick it back. And then as a separate check, we're verifying that they match each other. But the first check is looking for any other errors in the passwords. Weren't they already working in sync? The key is just making sure that we're looking for errors first before we check for verify.
So I guess it depends on what we take as what they mean by in sync with each other, right? So that's what I'm trying to, again, I did not write these instructions. I simply translate as much as I possibly can, as we all do. So it depends on what they mean by that, because technically we could just do an else if, right? And that could be kind of working in sync with each other, and then we could divvy those up. So I'll ask you all, so what did you do when it came to working in sync with these two conditionals? Or is this something that was a stumper a little bit?
We took it to make sure that we were looking for other errors first, and then we checked for verify afterwards. We just made, it was one of those, I thought they were worried about priority, that you want to check for the big stuff first, if you will, and then check to make sure they verify.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too, because if they don't have any passwords in there at all, what's the point of even checking if the passwords are together? So technically that's a more optimized approach. So you know what, we're gonna go with that. And if I get yelled at, I get yelled at. I haven't talked to Greg in a while anyway. I'm looking forward to get yelled at. All right, there we go. Has error is gonna go first, and then we're gonna check for the password validation. If Greg's watching this, hi Greg. All right, grab that out there, paste that down there. Hold on for a second because I'm gonna go ahead and format this. And what we're gonna do, if everything else is fine, why do we add verify in there? Could be, okay, that's gonna be just, maybe it's bad formatting because verify should be there. And if everything goes according to plan, we can return index. So that would be my final approach with that. Any questions on that one? To go over what we're doing real quick, if any of our validation comes back that we have errors, then we immediately return them over to the user/add form. Like we go right back, no questions asked. If the passwords don't match each other, as we see, we have this not operator right here, and it says .equal. So we're trying to check the two passwords, verify and the password are the same. If they are not the same, then we're going to add verify back to the model attribute, and then say that the passwords do not match. But I don't understand why they're adding, and then we go right back to the form. If everything's a-okay, as in no errors and everything matches, then we go to the index. Okay, we get to see, I believe, from what I remember, our SPA summary page. So any questions on that? Okay, this one is kind of a tricky one because not tricky, but I'm just kind of confused of why they had this in here in the first place. Because if our passwords don't match, typically we just want to clear out our passwords. We want to pass verify back into there. So I'll leave it be because they had it in the code, but if
For the bonus mission.
Oh, spoiler alert. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep that puppy in there then. That will be fun. All right. That makes more sense. I'm excited for these bonus missions. This is the second time someone told me about it. I'm like, all right, it's going to be something. Okay, so finally we are done with that. You can, in fact, validate the passwords match using annotations by taking a slightly more difficult approach than we have been before. We outline how to do this in the bonus mission section. Well, we're going to do that eventually, aren't we? All right. 13.6.5, test. You made a lot of changes. Be thoroughly to test to make sure that everything works as expected. All right. Oh, we're already down to that. Okay, let's go and do this. I have a feeling we're going to get some errors, so let's dive into it. I'm going to go and press that green button to start up our server. Server's all started up. I'm going to come over here and we're going to go to localhost 8080. All right, and where do we, okay, so we're at our index, but where do we do all of our stuff in? This is post mapping, this /add. Oh, we're trying to add users, right? We did all of our stuff in the add user thing. Let's just go make sure we didn't do any of this. So oily, manicure, submit. Okay, that's all fine. Let's actually go to our user controller. So I'm gonna come in here and see how we get there. I need to do /user/add. So that's what I'm gonna do. Localhost /user/add. All right, username is gonna be Kyle, test@mail.com. Test, and then test, and we're gonna see what happens on an ideal case. Boom. This is gonna be fun. All right. So it looks like our errors. So our errors were found, but bad things happen. We still get this 400 back. And you know what? I think it comes from that thing we were supposed to do in the first place, putting errors. So no one's catching the errors here. So we actually need to put this error object over here. So it looks like that's what happens when the errors, oh, let's hold off. Let's make sure. We're on a hypothesis right now. I'm on a hunch. I think that's how the errors get caught in, what is this? In Spring Boot, Spring Validation. So that'd be cool. I know it's really nerdy, but I love just like finding out how these things tick because sometimes it's not obvious. So you have to get in the weeds to like see the error and see it blow up in your face and be like, oh, that's why I shouldn't click that button. All right. /user/add. We're gonna go right back into the thick of it. I'm gonna do exactly what I did before. I'm gonna fail validation. I said Kyle here, test@mail, test, and then test, sign up. There we go. Wow, that is it. That's so cool. Okay, so errors get caught from the valid annotation. I'll show you what I'm going through. So this @valid, so if these aren't valid, the errors get caught here. So it has to be right next door to this @valid annotation for it to work. Boom, mind blown. This is a great fun student. You guys must have had so much fun doing this.
This
This
is
is cool.
literally what was preventing me from finishing this.
I feel your pain. In this one, I feel your pain because I could not get past that. I'm pretty sure the last time. On live studio too, like just like this. So I'm happy we able to got, yeah. Air high five, we figured it out. Awesome job. All right. So there we go. We are now working with that validation. So, okay, the validation doesn't really show up though. I don't really like that, but that's not what it asks us to do. So we're gonna hold off on that. I'm hoping the bonus missions help us with that. So let's go ahead and do, why does our username have to be again? It has to be 5 to 15. Okay, touche, Kyle's 4. Don't make fun. All right, let's call it, someone give me a username.
Super Kyle.
Super Kyle, fantastic, I love it. There we go. I'm gonna keep it at test@mail.com. We're gonna say, oh, does our password have to be a certain validation too? Has to be at least 6, all right. But you know, let's go ahead and test that out too. because I want to see if testing validation. Okay, cool. That also works. Awesome. So we're going to say test. So it's going to be 8 characters now instead of 4. Ooh, that's not good. Ooh.
Min and max, I believe, only work on numbers.
Yes, but the weird thing is that we're not getting any errors back. So what we're going to do is fix it real quick. I want to get the error back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow this little attribute here, an error, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say errors dot. I feel like I get messages in here or something. It's got to be right. Oh, what can I do? Okay, that's an object. Maybe I can't. It stinks. Oh, fine. All right, I think, but also no, I do want to show this because how would we, if we didn't get that min was part of an int, how would we ever know how to debug this? So let's go ahead and debug this. So get messages from error object in Spring Boot validation.
Can't you do like the little breakpoint thing and then debug?
We could technically, we can go ahead and do that also. I'm seeing if there's a way to get the errors out of the error object, but let's go ahead and do that. Let's hop into some debugging. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop our server and we're going to turn it on debugging mode. So what I did is I single clicked next to the line I want to explore. I did it within the if statement because inside this if statement is the errors I want to look at. So I made that breakpoint right there. It's the first one in the if statement. I'm going to click on this bug here to start up the same server, but in debugging mode. Debugging mode. Give it a second because debugging mode takes an extra few seconds here to start up. Almost there, a few more lines, and there we go. All right, go to sign up here. We're going to refresh. Refresh this way, /add. Awesome. So we're going to say super Kyle. We're going to say test at mail. And we're going to do test, which is a proper password. Oop, those did not match though. T-E-S-T-T-E-S-T. Cool. And click sign up. It's going to pause there. We're going to come over here. Excuse me. And now we are debugging. I know we're debugging because we're getting some errors down here, or we're getting information down here and errors, but more information. So I'm going to hop into errors here, which corresponds with our errors parameter up here. And we're going to see if it gives us anything, which of course it does. What is your problem? Okay, I'm going to read this. If you're asking your question, is he actually reading that? No, I'm just seeing if there's anything useful. There's nothing there. I'm looking for human text, and all it's giving me is absolutely nothing. So I don't want to look in that. Oh, there we go. Errors. That's what I'm looking for. Field user password rejected value. Greater than or equal to 6. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so it's saying it must be equal or greater to 6. It is, but what I wanted to do is check the length, but Timely for Spring Boot's too lazy to go into the length. So it's checking to see if test, our password is equal to the number 6. That's a no-go. So what we're gonna do is use that size annotation. And I know there's gonna be people watching this YouTube video. It's like, I have had that there the entire time and I'm 45 minutes in and now I have to, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what you get. Just kidding. There you go. All right, take out max and what we're gonna do is min f6. Remember, both of those parameters are technically optional. So there we go. Let's go and try this again. So I'm gonna stop the debugging server. stop all. So we're going to stop the debugger and the server. Well, come on. Leave me be. There we go, and then press go. It is still pouring down there. Oh, great. All right. Start a server. We're going to come back up here, /user/add. Cool. I'm going to say Kyle once again. Test@mail.com. Test, and then test. Sign up. Welcome, Super Kyle, and then select my small services. Fantastic. Our application still works with this validation. So going back to our instructions, it looks like that is all we had to do on that studio. So feel free to hop off if you want, but we are going to keep on going into those bonus missions. Any questions, though, before we start doing that? Any questions at all?
So, like, when we had to move the errors over next to the user, like, do you have like any inclination of like why it was reading it that way, or is it reading it like in a sequential order, or?
Let me see what the signatures look like for that. I don't know. Personally, I have no actual explanation for you. I know.
It just works.
It just works. For technology that is not my expertise, I just go by that's the way it works, unfortunately. So it's quirks are what I have to work with. So, but out of personal curiosity, if you're looking for it, is that what would be the Google for that? So it'd be model why error goes next to valid annotation spring. See if they do it. Oh, I forgot this is Hibernate technically, isn't it? No, we're not using it. Yeah, honestly, I would say that feel free to look into it on Stack Overflow. I can try to do it on my own time too and see why, but I would say that there's something probably that at the valid annotation, it's going to look at the next parameter in the signature and have it as the error object that it throws all of the errors into. That's how I would see it designed. But take that within a giant grain of salt because I don't know for exactly why. So to answer your question, I don't know. It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
It just does.
It just does. But if I find out, I will let you know. And
All right,
vice
thanks,
versa.
Kyle.
If you find out, let me know. Cool. Okay, deep breath. Let's do this. Whew, okay, 13.6.6 bonus mission. Let's set up the user class so we can validate that the password fields match using annotations. Okay. So add a private string verify password to the user along with getters and setters. Okie dokie. All right. So I'm going to say private string verify password. Cool. And then getters and setters as well. So I'm going to come all the way down here, press enter twice, right click, press generate, click getter and setter, select our only option, press OK, and there we go. All right, number 2, add a new method, private void check password that compares password and verify password. If neither is null and they don't match, then set verify password equal to null. Okay, I'm gonna copy that just so I have that as reference. So create a new method, private void check password. All right, and we don't take any parameters. Cool. So we have our getters and setters and all other methods down here. So I'm gonna create it down here. So did it say public? It didn't see. Oh, it says private. Cool. Private void check password. Didn't say it took in any parameters, and these were the instructions. If neither is null, so if neither is null, so if this dot password does not equal null, and this dot verify password does not equal null, and they don't match. So and not operator. Oh my gosh, sorry. I am a JavaScript all the time. There we go. If not, this dot password dot equals dot this dot verify password. There we go. Then it's said to set verify password to equal null. So we say this dot verify password equal to null. All right, simple enough. Any questions on that one? Can make it a little bit smaller so you all can read it. Okay, let's keep going then. Number 2, add a new method. Oh, we just that. Number 3, in both set password and set verify password, call check password after setting the given field. Okay, after setting the given field. Okay. You don't have to use this here. I just do it if it's in the class, just for my own personal, I know it's a class variable or a class method. So just in case you're wondering for that. Okay, IntelliJ, stop it. This dot check password. All right. So there we go. Are we sure it's not? Why are they doing that? That's weird. And they don't match. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Number 4. Add not null to the verify password field with the error message passwords do not match. Okay. There's got to be something in here. I know there's like a caveat, like, okay, I'm just inviting somebody in. They're not going to try to sell me anything. And then bam, do something here. Bad analogy, but you get my point. It's 9 o'clock. Oh yeah, my bedtime hit. All right. Error message not null. We're just like, give me the answer, not null. And then message is going to be equal to that. There we go. And those aren't the correct quotes. Give it the correct quotes. Come on. There you go. All right, not null has been added. Refactor the controller and add.html template to use the built-in annotation-based validation instead of the manual password validation that we carried out previously. Be sure to update the verify field, label the form. Okay. Okay. Yep, that's the catch right there, right? Let's see how we can do this. So refactor the controller and the add.html template to use the built-in annotation-based validation instead of the manual password validation that we carried out previously. Remove string verifying the admin. Okay. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's see. How can we do that? Stop it. No way. No, it's a test. I was like, there's no way we're doing that. Did anyone tackle this one and successfully get it? Okay, because I'm really afraid of which one it wants us to do, and I'd be very surprised if it's actually going to do that. Let's see if we just did this. No, not what I want. Technically, I could do that. But I don't think that's what they wanted. Let me make sure. Let me go to the directions here. They're going to tell us what annotation to use, though. Annotation-based validation instead of the manual password validation. Maybe it was trying to set us up for it, because what I'm finding is that it looks like our best possibility is going to be a field match annotation with it. So it's this one. That's it. Oh, no, it's for a DTO though. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe no. I wonder if I can do it on the actual. This is a tricky one. Okay. So that's going to be that. I don't need tests right now. Let me get mappings. I'm 100% certain now this is the studio that I tripped up on, because I've never done this this bonus mission yet. And I'm like, it's the quietest I've ever been on a bonus mission. Like, come on. Oh, let's see. Also, feel free to, if you do want to hop off, it's going to take me a second. I'm going to continue to look for it, and you're happy to feel free to work with me too, because I do not know the answer. So I'm going to be researching it and getting it, but I'll cut this quiet part out of our studio review here. So go right to the answer at the end of this. So feel free to stay on or help me research and let me know if anybody finds anything, because I'm going to figure this thing out, or I'm going to pass out at my computer. One after two. Okay, this is, I want to say that's way too complex for one that's in the bonus mission. Yeah, but it wouldn't be, I'm not going to make an entire class for the constraint. Yeah, and that's for a DTO anyway. Spring Boots. That's like the least helpful one. Come on. Wait. Is there consistent in that one? Oh, there's constraint validation. Okay. There's no way. I only know of one other really difficult bonus missions, but there's no way they want you to. They would want us to do this. Yeah, no. There's got to be an easier way. I am thinking too much into this. It's for dates, strings. Oh, did we already? No one stopped me. Did we already do the automatic validation if we just do it that way? Because that is absolutely true. I didn't read the. Has anyone tried the validate password or verify password after they were done? Anybody? Okay. Well, we're gonna try to tackle this then. All right.
No.
Results. Okay. So results of the changes on crust.
Did
How
I
is that,
miss
you all?
3 and 4? Did I miss those set pass?
Maybe. So we did 3 and 4. So
Okay.
yeah. So we're on to 5 here, but I just might be. I was very much overthinking. Because I looked at the annotation, I got scared. I'm sorry.
Well, I just tried the password verify and it's the passwords do not match. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, well, I'm reading the second part. It looks like from what we had to do here, it might work. Okay, so that's okay. So it calls a setter, and then we do that. So we call a setter, and then they have to match. Oh no, because it has no. Oh, because it's not null. So that's what we need to do. Okay, so not null, and then this one also has to be not null. So it's whatever. Technically, it doesn't matter,
Oh,
but
okay.
user controller. Okay, so what we need to do now is take this out, and we're gonna actually take this out as well, and we're gonna run. So what we need to do is actually get the errors back. So what we're gonna do is that we're going to go to our index.html here. We're going to not index.html, we're gonna need to go to add.html. I think I was just overthinking it. I was about to build like a custom interface and like a custom constraint, and I was like, there's no way it's gonna be that. All right. So we have a th value here, th value. What I want to do is we're gonna put in a paragraph here that's gonna be th, the errors here, $. This is gonna be the user.username. So if there's any errors about the username, just so we can see them. And email, there we go. And I think now this is not verified, it's gonna be verified. Password, when we pass that back there, because our user now has this user password verify. So go over here, and now we no longer need verify in here. Also, excuse me, which they said in the directions. So add HTML, there we go. Let's go see what happens. I just opened up a lot of tabs. Did learn a lot about time leaf though, or learn about Spring Boot. And all that reading. There we go. Okay. Refresh that. Still up. /user/add. Cool. Username. We have to do the right one. There we go. Test and mail. We do say test. test, and then test, test. Passwords do not match. Awesome, awesome. Let's go ahead and see if they do match. Awesome. Okay, we are doing the validation now with the method. Cool. All right. So to bring it back to what we actually did there, so we just had to follow the directions and add in this, go to user, add in this method down here. Once we added in the method down there, what they told us is that if the passwords do not match, then set this to null. So we set the verify password to null. This runs first before our validation runs. So if our verify password is reset to null, even though it had something in it, if we go up here to our validation, it cannot be null. So validation fails. Henceforth, we have errors if we go to the user controller and we return our user/add. So that's how that timeline works. If they don't match, we set it verify password to null. When we set it to null, it then fails validation. If it fails validation, it returns with errors. Hence, our errors are shown. So that's what that was. Wow. Went totally in the deep end on that one, but it's not fun sometimes, right? All right. Any questions about that? Anything that you guys all want to talk about before I go take an Advil from the headache I just caused myself?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you all for sticking around to that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop.